All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And Steve isn't with us this morning because he is doing a one-to-one session. He has a client. So it's just me today. So if you could also help me by, if you post a question for me, if you can put question in all caps before your question so that I can recognize it, I can spot it in the chat easily. And if you've got any targets, I know what. If you've got any targets, put target in all caps before your target when you send it to me. So then I can just scan for those words and hopefully not miss anything. If I do miss your target or your question, please, of course, just let me know. All right, so let's start by going straight into the superpower state. So take a deep breath and either close your eyes or leave them open, whichever you prefer. And go into your superpower state however you normally do that. So by using a word or phrase or your anchor, or by focusing in on your subject and everything you love and appreciate about them. Good job. Start to feel that opening feeling in your chest, that expansion feeling. As your heart opens and that light, that energy shines out from you. Very good. And now allow that light or energy to spread down to your toes, up to the top of your head, and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that light, that energy, that love. Good job. And now allow that light or energy to fill each of the 50 trillion cells that make up your body. Love each cell just for existing. Very, very good. And now allow that light or energy to fill the little you, yourself as a child, any age. Love that child just for existing. Good job. And now allow that light, that energy to overflow from that little you and fill your whole childhood. Everything, everyone, every experience, every circumstance, every event, shining that light into any darkness, loving it all anyway. That's where your power is. And now allow that light, that energy to fill everyone who's on the call today. Those who are on camera, those who are off camera today, filling each one with this light, this energy, this love, loving each one just for existing. Very good. All right, you can open your eyes if you haven't closed. And let's check in with each person. So Lisa, you're the only one on screen at the moment. How are you?
Really? Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, very good. Thank you. I wanted to share with you. I'm finishing the book up that I'm doing for dedicated to everybody. So this is going to be the cover. I'm just going to do the background. That's all I have to do left. But remember how on the workshop you had told me, to see myself as a kid author. Well, I see myself as a kid alien author.
Fantastic.
So that was fun. And then there's one, and I'll show this real fast. But this is like the target.
Oh, that's
a little alien.
cool.
So our target. So I send love to everyone, everywhere, all the
that
time.
is just gorgeous, Lisa, and I love those colors.
It was so much fun to do, and then I have another one I'm doing, but after that, but that'll be dedicated to the group and you guys.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. So anything that I get from it, that'll be donated to you guys. So,
Oh, no, you don't need to do that. That's
yeah. Oh, no, because I have lots of them. It's fine.
Oh,
okay. So I am on, I was on this one page. I had 120. I think it was, okay, so you'll be able, this was on page 102.
Uh-huh.
You'll be able to simply turn on your power on most of the time without having to use a power phrase. But power phrases help you to make the transition from superpower exercise to being able to tune in without the process. They also help in those times when you are in an emotional state that is hindering you from tuning in directly. So you program the power phrase by using it during your superpower exercise. While you're feeling the feeling of unconditional love, repeat the power phrase over and over. Do this whenever you do the superpower exercise. So yay.
Yeah. Good job. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa. And that really is very helpful. Also, just move. So yes, you'll be able to live from that state. And then when things are a little bit tricky, when you go through challenges, because of course it is important to remember, and this is something I didn't really get in the beginning, is that being human, we are always going to have life challenges. That's just part of the experience. But what this does is it helps us get through those challenges. It helps us be triggered less often. It helps the triggers be less intense, and it helps us get through them quicker and more in a more empowered way. And so when things do get tricky, like, you know, the loss of my mum, for example, and the loss of my brother, I was able to use my power phrase just to amp up that superpower to help me through those experiences. So that's great, great reminder there, Lisa. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. And Swasti. Hi, Swasti.
Hello.
How are you today?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, so this morning my mum was like busy with stuff. So she had to take my sister to school, basically, which is not normal, like she goes by herself. And then my mum's like, can you take care of your brother? Can you come downstairs? Because I was sleeping. But she didn't tell me that he hadn't eaten breakfast. And then she comes home and she's like, you didn't feed him anything. You went to school hungry. And I said, but you didn't tell me anything. And I just felt very triggered there because, like, everything that I have done for my siblings, like over 10 years, literally, like that never got acknowledged. But like, if something goes wrong or if I forget something, that's always like the thing that's like sticks out. And also, just my sister doesn't have to do that. Like, when I was her age, I was taking care of her. Isn't it her turn to take care of my brother now?
Right.
So yeah, that's it.
Yes, very good. That's a great, a good one, Swasti. And again, you're not alone. So this feeling of, you know, so our general experience for most people, the way we are, is that is very common, where when we do good things, it's not as acknowledged as when we do bad things or so-called bad things. We forget something or we make a mistake. The common thing is for that to be, for us to get attention from that rather than for the things we do well, especially when we're kids. And so that carries down through the generations because that will have been their experience. And of course, the main thing driving all of that is, again, stress chemicals. So parents tend to feel guilty themselves, or they feel like it's very possible that your mum felt bad that your brother didn't have anything to eat and that she forgot to make sure that you knew about it. So her way of coping with that is to lash out at somebody else, because if it's your fault, then it doesn't feel as bad inside herself, right?
Okay.
And so that's a human thing to do. We tend to, that's why there's so much blame, because number one, you know, people don't realize that everything is about inside ourselves. But in addition to that, it doesn't feel as bad. We don't feel as guilty. We don't feel as bad. We don't feel as angry if it's someone else's fault, right? So that would have been her unconscious mechanism for not feeling as bad, to feel a bit better, right? Because also, of course, I'm assuming your brother could have said if he was hungry or...
Yeah, he didn't say anything like that.
Yeah, right. So how old is your brother?
Well, 4, but he'll be 5 next month.
5, yes. Okay. So he would have said, so he's not a baby. And so he would have said, oh, I'm hungry or that. And so but your mum, in your mum's head, this is a terrible thing. And I can completely relate to it, because if I realized my son went to school hungry, I had those programs, I would have also felt terrible about that. But the truth is, he'll be okay because he hasn't been hungry for days. So he will be okay. All right. So now let's look at your references, because of course that's her stuff and that's actually what's going on for her. But the fact that it triggered you means there's something in you that there's a reference for it. So this feeling of you didn't tell me, so how, whatever that is, the consequence of being blamed for something that you weren't told about, number one. And then the second part of it is that feeling of not being acknowledged for all the good stuff you did. But when there's something that they are judging, then you do get that acknowledgement for the thing you were judged about. So let's look at the first bit, which is the feeling of but you didn't tell me. So tell me what's going on there. What's the feeling there, or what's the worst thing about it?
What if I'd been told, but I would never let anybody go to school hungry, even if it was my brother or not. That was guilt myself, but I didn't know, so there wasn't any guilt.
Right.
The worst thing about it is probably, no, I really struggle with that question actually. I just make stuff up, say what comes up, but I don't know.
Okay. And that's okay, because if it's coming up, then it's in there. So let me ask you this. So your mum didn't tell you that your brother needed breakfast, that she hadn't already given him breakfast, and then she was annoyed with you for not being psychic. So what about that is triggering you? Because it doesn't really matter, does it, what she thinks?
Probably an element of trust.
Okay. So what's the consequence of this? What's the consequence or the result of her being annoyed with you for not knowing that your brother needed breakfast when she didn't tell you?
Well, I got given the silent treatment the whole day.
Silent treatment, good. Okay. So, and what's wrong with the silent treatment? Because some people wish that some people were silent. So what's wrong with the silent treatment?
I just, as a form of punishment, it's really harsh. It's emotionally very harsh.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of people have that. That's a number one. It's a very common mechanism for parents to use, especially mothers for some reason. And there's a whole lot of stuff around that, and it is, and it's a very common experience for kids. And it is because, again, your subconscious takes that as a threat to your life, because it's this person is not pleased with me, which means they're going to kick me out of the tribe, or I'm in danger of being kicked out of the tribe, and then I'm not going to survive because I can't survive on my own. I rely on these people to keep me alive. All right. So when there's a silent treatment, now if you knew, let's say your mum said, like my sister did a silent retreat at home. So she warned everybody and said, listen, I'm not going to be talking. Okay, I'm just going to be quiet because I want to just do this silent retreat. And so then you know that that's what's going on. So then that doesn't have an effect. Or if your mum had lost her voice, right? Yeah. That would be okay. You would know it's just because she's lost her voice. But because you knew this silent treatment, there's something wrong. She's annoyed, and particularly because I'm the target. That's why the emotions are much stronger, of course. Right. So that's there. So number one, it's a natural response. That's a human response from you, being triggered by that. So now let's have a look at, are you able to just allow that to be there, allow her to be doing her silent treatment, allow her to be cross even though it's unreasonable, and allow that feeling? Can you do that now? And if not, that's also okay.
Yeah, I can allow it, and then like as soon as we come face to face, then there's no talking. I just feel like I
Okay.
need to sort this out. It's my fault.
Okay, so when you see your mum and you come face to face with that silent treatment, what happens inside you? What do you feel? What do you think? And what do you do?
Yeah. So there's a part of me which says like, oh yeah. So my sister was having stomach cramps, so that's why she felt like she was going to vomit. So my mom obviously had to go with her. And then, you know, because of period pain, and I never got that. I had worse things. Like I had exams and stuff, and I never got any sort of attention for that. So like,
So
you went kind of for the wrong reasons. Like if that makes sense. Like you should have stayed at home and taken care of your 4-year-old rather than 11-year-old.
Fair enough. Okay, so I see where it is. I see where the link is. When you were younger and your cousin, right? So there was the experiences with your cousin in India. So he got, am I right in thinking he got attention and acknowledgement and you didn't?
No, I think it was I got the attention, but he was smarter, so he kind of grabbed that off, kind of.
Right. So that feeling of, I didn't get that, that whatever that is, so your sister gets that special treatment and you didn't have that, you had a lot worse, but you didn't get it. So what's that feeling? Where in your childhood did you have that same feeling? And it may or may not be to do with your sister when she was born.
Because I think my sister's literally my cousin reborn. Just literally the same. So what comes, I think a memory comes up now. It's like, so my grandpa we lived in a village, he would take us around the village, like on a walk. And he would always say, oh, look, he got this score in his school. And then he'd be acknowledged for that and be like, oh, he walks around and he pretends he doesn't do anything, but he's so smart at school. And look at her, she works so hard. But,
Wow.
the top of our class.
That'll do it. That's huge. Yes. All right. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That poor little you working so hard and not acknowledged for it. Yes, and he's not trying, and he's praised. That'll do it. And so every time something happens like this with your sister, your subconscious is referring to that there, and that little you is still feeling that unfairness, that injustice.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Swasti. And so I would do a due justice if that feels like appropriate. I would think that it's probably needed a due justice to your grandfather and maybe to your cousin and anything else that comes up. And then the second part of it, of course, is to change it to the opposite, so that your grandfather is saying, she's walking around looking like she's not doing anything, and she gets top of her class, and he works so hard and he can't. So the exact opposite. All right. And then practice and practice and practice that to really establish that, and feeling the feelings of it. So feeling the feelings of being praised, and you didn't even have to do anything. You're the special one. You're the one who gets special treatment.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I think I need to do justice because it's pretty strong. I can allow it, but it comes off again.
Good, yes. So do justice and get it all out, whatever's there. And if you need to write it to a few different people, do that too. Do whatever's necessary to get that anger, because that anger and frustration and resentment and whatever's there is justified. So it's natural, and that was perfectly understandable that you feel that. So make sure that child in you ends up with that feeling of, yes, I have been wronged, and I have a right to say so and to, express it and all of that, even if it's unreasonable, seems unreasonable.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yeah. So with the due justice, so how will you know when you're writing it consciously versus subconsciously, and if you're writing as like older versus younger?
Okay, good question. And thank you for asking it for others as well. So I would say it's going to be different for different people, especially at the beginning. And so you just start from wherever you can start. So one of the things you can do is go back to those memories of walking around with your grandfather saying those things, and feel that feeling that you had then or that you have now, it doesn't matter, and then start writing, "Dear Grandpa, how could you do that?" Whatever it is. And if for those watching as well, if you have trouble starting, you could just say, "Dear Grandpa, how are you? I am fine. I had spaghetti for supper." And just as long as you start writing, and then it'll start coming up. And you could even just start off by relating what happened. "We were walking around the town and you said this, and he doesn't even try, and you never acknowledged whatever's there," and allow it to flow. So now how that comes out may well be a combination of the child in you and you now, and that's okay. Whatever comes is okay, as long as you keep so the thing about the child is that we don't want to be using logic and reason for this. That's why we say right from the child, because we want that child to have a voice. So the difference with the conscious mind would be, I know that you didn't, I understand, those kind of things, being reasonable, being understanding. That's the conscious mind, and that's what this exercise is not for that. As long as you are shouting, swearing, insulting, throwing a tantrum on that page, you're doing it right. You've got that part of you. It's the part of you that doesn't care about forgiveness, that doesn't care about why someone did something, or the logic, the reasons, the understanding, has no interest in understanding anything, that just wants to go, "Wah!" That part of you. As long as you've got that part of you writing, you're doing it perfectly. Does that help to answer?
Yeah, I think it's good when it ends up in tears. I find that good.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Okay.
Good job, sweetheart. That's very, very good. And then once you've done that, of course, then you can change those memories, like we said, to the opposite, positive and empowering, so that it's the other way around. Practice those, and then come back to think about the situation with your sister. And of course, if any other memories come up, do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then come back to thinking about the situation with your sister and notice what kind of, so it may be fine, then you may notice you don't have those, it doesn't trigger you anymore, or you may find there's still some of that left, in which case you'll just do the process again, or you may find different feelings or thoughts come up. You may feel like something, a different trigger now. So whatever it is, you'll just do the same process, to change whatever references are there, until you're able to look at this situation with your sister and not feel triggered. And perhaps you're able to look at your mum doing the silent treatment, and you're able to just go, "Oh, bless her heart, there's something going on inside her. It's just her stuff. I'll just give her some space."
Yeah, because my mom is like, I can see her mom's mom inside her. Like when she was visiting here, I can so see that. Wow. Okay.
Right. Yes. So she's just, what she's doing, the silent treatment, is purely automatic. There's no logic behind it. There's no thinking behind it. And my mum used to do the same thing, and her mum used to do the same thing. Her mum used to, crash doors and washing up, making noise. She used to make a lot of noise, but she wouldn't say anything. It was so her expression was coming out and slamming things, and so bless her heart, but that little her was making sure that you knew. So the silent treatment wasn't enough. She wanted to make really sure that you knew that she was very upset. So I I know that. And when my mum started doing that, once I started developing the superpower, she was living with me. She lived with me for 5 years after I'd developed the superpower exercises, and was living from that state. And when my mum was going to move in with me, I was like, when my sister suggested it, I was like, what? That's a huge ask, because I loved my mum, but she could be challenging because of the emotional stuff. And it was a dream. For the most part, it was a dream because I was in that state all the time, that unconditional love, which meant she changed towards me because I wasn't hitting the ball back anymore. So when she went quiet, when she did the silent treatment, I just felt love, and I felt kindness and compassion. And I would say, would you like a cup of tea, Mum? And I would just allow. So we're back to the allowing. I would allow her to do her thing, whatever she was doing, and because I recognized that it had nothing to do with me, which helped, because then I wasn't feeling triggered. So that's what you're aiming for. You're aiming for to be able to look at your mum doing the silent treatment and just feel kindness and compassion, and think she'll get through it. It's okay. So there's no threat anymore because you've changed those references. Does that help?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, actually. Okay, that's my aim.
Good. Yes. So it's nice to know what you're aiming for. That's the end result. And this is great. Thank you so much for sharing this, because there's a lot of people dealing, especially during this time. We're all, a lot of us are living with people that we wouldn't normally be spending as much time with. So a lot of people are dealing with people triggering them in various ways. So this is a great example of what you can do to change that and what to aim for.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Thank you.
Thank you, Swasti. Thank you for sharing, sweetie. You're very welcome. All right. And we don't have anyone else on camera, so I'm going to check the chat. Question. There's a targeted question. I avoid conversations where I'm potentially can be rejected or not loved as I am. Do I use being responsible for what is happening to me to avoid conversation? Do I use being responsible for it to avoid conversation? A big point lately was around being mixed. My father is Black, my mother is white. I've always considered myself as belonging to both sides, and more than the person, and more. And the person insists on me choosing to say that I'm just Black, and that's a denial from me not to admit that. I see. I don't want to enter in details about this conversation of Black and white, fair enough, but the simple fact that someone feels entitled to define who I am and mock me of what I feel my identity is brings no discussion. I should be out of that relation. And this doesn't deserve any explanation. I avoid any discussion. Looking for references in my childhood, I reach that sentence, you better not know what is there, what is happening really. The other reference could be, it's not you who decides what you do in your life, it's me. Very good. Well done for bringing that up. This is a great conversation and or example. And here's the thing, this is about identity as in, with a race thing, but this will apply to a lot of people in so many ways. So thank you very much for this. So I would ask these questions. The first thing is, so if someone says you should be identifying as whatever, anything, and I know that this is especially charged during this particular time where there is the racial tension going on. So this is a very current charged issue. So with someone saying you should be identifying as Black, even though you identify as both because you've got your half and half, what does that mean to you? So because the answer could just be, okay, I understand that's how you feel, but that's not what I am, or that's not how I choose to be. So in other words, they can't make you feel anything. There must be references for that, and it must have meaning. So when they say you should identify as Black, what happens inside you? What are those emotions? What are those thoughts? And what I'm seeing from here is it's that feeling of someone else telling you what you should. Oh, can you unmute yourself? Yes, sorry, I didn't see that pop up at the bottom. Hi, Sylvie. I've unmuted. You can unmute yourself. Yay, there you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Yes. I'm doing detective research at the time around that, because it was very, very strong, and I was wondering whether I was using the remote method to avoid deep conversation, saying, okay, it's on me. It's me who is reacting that way. So I don't even bother to explain to the other person. They are not going to change for me. I have to change. I have to move on without saying anything. And I felt there was really a strong pattern to avoid conversation and to avoid difficult conversation. And during my detective research, I found the two sentences came. You better know what is really happening, and it's not you who decide what you do with your life. It's me. And I grew up in dictatorship, and it was there was a strong fear about speaking. I couldn't speak. You were always obliged to be really careful about what you are saying, because it could be very dangerous for you. And I was wondering, could this be the references leading to the fact that I'm not comfortable to speak, to say what I want to say? Is it and could these references be so far from my loving relationship? Suddenly, dictatorship patterns come in my relationship with men. I'm not able to speak out for me. And the fact that somebody, I don't know who, but when I do the research things, it's not only my father saying you're not allowed to do what you want with your life, but the whole community around my father. And I thought, this is so big. How can I make small stepping stone?
Yes. Okay.
Yes. I don't know if I'm clear enough.
Yeah, perfectly clear. Perfectly clear, Sylvie, and it makes perfect sense. So that, and thank you for sharing this, because again, this is a great example of what, for other people as well, of how the links can be not what, they can be completely different, the original references. That whole background of living under a dictatorship and scared to speak, that will be entrenched. That will be really, really core, because there would have been extreme fear, not just from you, but from your family and from the people around you. When it's a whole culture of fear of speaking out, that's going to be a foundation reference. So that's a very, very good example. So where to start? I would, I'd start with the new allowing exercise, since this seems to be so powerful. So I would start with noticing that feeling of not being able to speak out, and just allow that. Do the allowing exercise. Notice where in your body you feel that sensation of I'm avoiding speaking. I don't want to speak. I'm avoiding conflict, avoiding the conversations, whatever that is. Just allow that part of you, allow that feeling, that sensation to be there without judgment and without giving it meaning and without feeling like I should do anything. Just allow it. Then once you've done that, notice what happens inside you. And then once you've noticed a change or a shift in the stress chemicals have come down and you've got a little bit of distance from it, then you can go back to your childhood, and I would start with the whole culture, so I don't know which country it was, but whatever it was, I would change the whole history. So we've done this for Northern Ireland with clients who grew up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, where we've changed that whole country to, it's an island of partying. Everyone, everybody's part. So instead of the conflict and the fighting and the terrorism and everything that was going on, it's party. So there's fireworks, there's everybody, it's a party nation. There's, they're doing all kinds of fun activities and dancing and music and all of that. So that gives you an idea of what you're aiming for. So you want to aim to have that the culture you grew up in, rather than a dictatorship and you're not allowed to speak, or you've got to be careful of what you say. It's a party state where everybody is always happy. There's lots of games and fun, and people are singing and people are speaking out. So you may want to do a stepping stone where you have you see people on those soapboxes in parks, or however you want to do it, where they're saying their mind, they're speaking their mind, and everybody's going, okay, yeah, well, I don't agree with you, but fair enough. Whatever will address that piece. And then in addition to that, of course, any memories of being told, be careful, it's dangerous, however you learned that you're living in a dictatorship and that speaking out can be dangerous. However, whatever you remember from that, if it's just a knowing, that's okay. Or if you remember being told or witnessing something, of course, change those memories to the opposite, positive and empowering. So start with that foundation. And then your parents and grandparents' childhoods, where they grew up in this party nation, and you and they were always told, you must always speak your mind. You must always speak, and you're being encouraged. Well, what do you think? And you say what you think. And the same for your parents and grandparents. When they were children, the child says what they think, and they say, okay, yeah, no, I see what you mean. So it's encouraged, it's praised. Well done for saying, for speaking out. Does all of that make sense so far, Sylvie?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yes, it's a really big,
Yes.
big change in my memories.
It is. Yes.
And but I noticed when I had this relationship where they asked me to be black instead of what I was feeling. I knew that it was not that point. It was really somebody trying to force me to do something.
That's it.
Which is not what I want to do, and somebody denying me the freedom to do the things that I am feeling. Mm.
Exactly. So you're being denied what comes to you naturally, who you really are. And that is very, very powerful. And this is such a powerful example of how it's not the symptoms.
Yes.
What we are experiencing now is just symptoms, and it's not pleasant, but it's not the cause, and the cause is deeper. So that is well done, Sylvie, for finding that reference of not being able to speak.
And the other part is when I see I have the feeling that it will be a huge work to undo my previous culture and do something else. I have the feeling that I have to step back from any relationship and work on that. Maybe I don't know how long before being able to speak naturally with somebody and just have my point.
Very good. So well done. And here's the truth. It doesn't need to take long. Because it's all happening inside your mind, inside your brain. And remember that all you're doing is rewiring neurons, neural networks. There's no other people inside your mind that you have to get to agree with you or anything. And there's no reason not to imagine it differently, because keep reminding yourself that your subconscious has no ability to question it or go, but that's not what really happened, or but what about any logic, any reason, it doesn't have the ability to judge something as unrealistic or anything like that. So keep reminding yourself of that. But where I would start, Sylvie, is definitely a due justice letter. And you could write several of them. You could start by writing it to the dictator or whoever, however where you grew up came to that state, came to be that way. You could write it to that person or the system in general. Doesn't even have to be a person. It could just be the system in general, or God for putting you there, or whatever comes out, whatever that little you feels is to blame for that situation where you're not allowed to speak. And then of course to your parents as well, your parents, grandparents, whoever was enforcing this, or whoever was so frightened that they really instilled this in you, you mustn't speak. And the people who, so the government or whoever's in charge, in the dictator, and that the parents, grandparents, teachers, whoever were responsible for you not being able to be who you want to be. In other words, the ones that said you don't get to decide about your life, we get to decide who you are and what you do with your life. Do massive due justice letters.
Oh, yes.
Good. That's where to start. Get all of that out, and then you can change the memories.
And then I can change my way of relating to people and having discussion.
Exactly. So what you're aiming for after doing all that work, what you're aiming for is that you're able to be in a conversation with someone and they say, oh, you should do this or you should do that. And you go, okay, yeah, I understand that that's how you feel, but it's not what I think. It's not how I feel or what I want to do. But you can do it without being triggered and with kindness and compassion. And it doesn't matter how they react.
Yeah, because now what I'm doing, and I go out and I do what I want to do, but I disappear and they never hear about me again. Yeah. I shut the relationship without explaining why I'm not okay with what was said.
That's it. Yeah, and that's your coping mechanism. That's how you learned to cope with those experiences. So now you'll be able to say, whoever they are, look, this is how I feel. So unfortunately, if we can't agree on that, that's okay, but I'm going to need to move on or whatever, so that you're saying it in a perfectly logical, strategic, kind way, rather than trying to escape.
Yes, my coping mechanism was escaping. Yes. Escaping the situation.
And that makes perfect sense.
Thanks a lot.
That's good.
Yes, really.
You feel confident and comfortable with moving forward with that now?
Yes. Many due justice letter first step.
Yes, definitely. Good job, sweetheart. You're very, very welcome. All right, and thank you for sharing, because it'll help others as well. All right, and then love this. As my mother would always get angry growing up and I lived in fear, she would erupt easily and then say she had to mend fences. Great works. I can see myself in you at that age. Yes. So that was in reference to Swasti's, the one that Swasti was working on. And yeah, I know that feeling well. All right. And this is so good a deal. It is exactly what my cousin and I needed to hear about another country. Make it party central. Absolutely. Yes. So that goes for everybody, and not just so countries, cultures, religions, all of that where it's like a whole tradition or inherited situation, making these people and this culture party people and a party culture is very effective, because there's still high emotions, but it's positive emotions as opposed to the negative ones. Very good. All right. So there aren't any more questions in the chat. So now we'll go. So thank you, all of you, for those questions, because that really helps others as well. And now we're going to do the targeting. So take a deep breath and either close your eyes or leave them open, whichever you prefer. and go into your superpower state however you normally do that. Very good. And feel your heart opening, that expansion feeling in your chest as that light shines out from you. And then allow that light or energy to spread down to your toes, up to the top of your head and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that light, that energy, that love. Very good. And then allow that light or energy to fill each of the 50 trillion cells that make up your body. Love each cell just for existing. Good job. And then allow that light, that energy to fill your subject. And then imagine your subject doesn't want to be with you or doesn't have the qualities you love and admire and appreciate in them. And keep them filled with that light, that energy anyway, no matter what. Loving them exactly as they are. Good job. Now let's go to Lisa. Fill Lisa with that same light, that energy, from the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Lisa just for existing. And allow that light, that energy to overflow from Lisa and fill the financial abundance of everyone on a global scale, whether they have abundance or not. So loving everything exactly as it is without needing it to change, shining this light into any darkness regarding abundance. Loving it all exactly as it is, no matter what. Feeling that power as you shine that light into any darkness. Feeling that love. Good job. And now to Swasti. Fill Swasti with that same light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Swasti just for existing. Very good. Good job. And now to Sylvie. Fill Sylvie with that same light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Sylvie just for existing. Very good job. And now to everyone who's off camera today and all those watching the recording, fill each one with this light, this energy, this love from the tips of their toes to the top of their heads and out to their fingertips. Love each one just for existing. Very, very good. And now think of yourself later today and over the weekend, whatever you'll be experiencing, feeling, doing, whatever happens, love that version of you, no matter what. Exactly as you are. And allowing that light, that energy to shine out from you and fill everything in your world, in the world in general, just shining that light into any darkness, feeling that power as you love everything, no matter what, exactly as it is, and surge. Good. And search again. Very, very good. All right, you can open your eyes if you had them closed. Good job, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend. Keep practicing, look after yourselves, and we will see you back same time, same place on Monday. I will add the new booking link to the website, and I'll send out an email to everybody who was registered for this week to let you know once this recording's up and the new booking link is up. So have a wonderful weekend. It may take us a little while to get the recording up just because we've got quite a busy day today, and but we'll try and get it up as soon as possible. All right, lots of love to all of you. You're very welcome. Bye-bye now.